the fake news industry, the mainstream media, they've been manipulated by the establishment, by the deep state for decades. In the 1970s, there was a congressional hearing which was investigating the CIA doing assassinations and all sorts of other illegal activities, and then inadvertently uncovered Operation Mockingbird, which was the program to pay the mainstream media under the table to act as gatekeepers and propagandists for the establishment.
Mark Dice is taking over for 5 minutes in the next hour. Then John Rappaport's going to be hosting the full fourth hour. Before I go any further, I had one other clip I wanted to play for Mark Dice, but we were just talking during the break about how crazy this is. And I remember back when Kim.com was in the news, and he was saying, oh, Hillary's Christmas presents are coming. Oh, it's over for you. Assange is going to release the mother load. And then I was talking to all these journalists. I mean, Assange was doing London Guardian interviews, Fox News interviews, New York Times interviews back then. And then they acted like Roger Stone trying to talk to him was proof that he was a Russian agent, as if there's proof that Assange is. It was just so many degrees of baloney. And I remember talking to, I'm not going to name the reporters, but talking to Stone at the RNC and even other events before that, and going, here, let me meet with this New York Times reporter. She talked to Assange today, and he was obsessed with Assange. Hey, I'm trying to, a Guardian reporter that I know is going to be going in next week, and maybe he's going to get my question into her. Into him. That's the Russia investigation on Roger Stone, that he tried to talk to Julian Assange. Everybody was. I mean, we sent him probably 50 emails asking him to come on. Does that mean I'm a Russian agent? How come the New York Times could interview Julian Assange, but if I tried to, Mark Dice, I'm a Russian agent?
You know, I think this is one of their final steps in trying to shut us down. It's first they accused us of being all a bunch of alt-right white supremacists. That totally didn't work, backfired. I got several reports to issue retractions after they defamed me, accusing me of that. Then they call us all a bunch of Russian agents. Doesn't really work. Then they try to demonetize our channels. We're still going. Then they try to just get us shut down for terms of service violations. Now we're seeing other alternative decentralized systems popping up. The Streisand effect is working. It's just bringing more attention to our cause. So then they go for, I mean, really one step beyond just assassinations, and that is to try to just sue people or get them to be investigated criminally, which is, I mean, it could be $50,000 a month just to defend a basic lawsuit, just to get a lawsuit thrown out. So, I mean, it could be $5,000. It's just outrageous. And so they know that they can bankrupt people. You know, I just read a report that Roger Stone had accumulated $500,000 in legal fees, or is expecting to. And so it looks like this is one of their, I mean, most vicious and desperate attacks to try to shut us down. I mean, it's quite outrageous. Call us names all you want to, even if it's defamatory. It doesn't really have that big of a damage against us because our audience knows the truth. We can have a platform to respond, but not everybody can respond or could afford tens of thousands of dollars a month in lawsuits. So it's very, very important. We're in really, really critical times right now. Quite a scary time. Quite exciting though to see what's happening now. But it's definitely not the time to fall asleep at the wheel.
Again, Mark Dice of markdice.com, best-selling author, commentator, filmmaker, you name it, joining us right now. Historically, if a country's even quasi-free, shutdown of the press and shutdown of voices turns them into superstars. And all their attempts at censorship, I mean, what, they banned your YouTube channel already, was it 6, 7 years ago, and then again a few years ago? That only made you bigger. Same thing with us. So I don't understand. Don't they get now that they admit they want to ban us? That's and then Hillary has attacked me 7 times in her book. She attacked me again last week. Don't they understand that when they call us dark heart and evil, that people know she's evil? So even folks that didn't know who I was, they're coming to newswars.com, infowars.com to find out what all the hubbub is.
And when I heard Hillary Clinton call you out by name during a speech, my jaw just dropped, because it was a tremendous gift that she gave you. And I knew that you were going to put that clip into your bumpers because it's hilarious. It's really an honor. You know, sometimes they say that you could judge a man based off of the size of their enemies. And you can't have much of a more sinister, well-connected enemy than Hillary Clinton. But I think they really do have a mass mental illness. They don't even know what to do, because the fact that she's out with her new book is just ridiculous. I mean, most of the people, even in the liberal media,
and she shows how crazy, exactly. Even her own liberals go, you sound like a whacked out nut. And you're blaming everybody but yourself.
She everybody but herself. I mean, from WikiLeaks to the Russians to you to fake news to Facebook, it's ridiculous. And you even have people who really like her, but they're trying to be nice to her. I mean, she was on Stephen Colbert's show the other day. I just saw a clip online, and he even said
they're like toasting champagne.
He even said to her, though, he said, a lot of people are, asking, why don't you just go away? And you can see her facial expressions during her interviews are just bizarre. I mean, she looks just totally whacked out of her mind. She looks like she needs to be sedated, or she probably is sedated.
Well, by the way, I was told by our sources, and that's why they have Chardonnay up there as a joke, that she was falling down drunk election night, throwing things at people. And I got that from the Secret Service, just like they told us she was collapsing every 45 minutes, and a month later was caught on tape. I mean, these are real sources. And
she was expecting to win. So she didn't even have a concession speech written. That's why they had to wait until the very next day to come out and admit defeat, because it's breaking tradition. Everybody has a concession speech written because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's part of the plan. When you're one of the top 2 contenders, you plan for anything to happen. They didn't even have a concession speech.
And then they make a joke about how she's a total alcoholic that physically attacks her staff. I've been reading that and talking to FBI eyewitnesses that were in the White House 20-something years ago. She was throwing ashtrays at people and beating men up. I mean, she is a vicious demon.
Her soul is definitely twisted. I mean, you would just look at her face, and this is the kind of torment that someone is experiencing when they lose a spouse, or when they come down with a serious illness that's going to get them in a few months. I think that part of this is a strategy from them to try to portray her as being strong, to try to pretend like if she just, she's not going to go away, because if she just disappeared, it may look as if she's weak, as if she gave up. So I think part of the strategy with her new book is to come out and pretend like she's strong, she can take it, to keep this hype going about this Russia conspiracy. And we talked earlier about, you were talking earlier in the show about the wiretaps, and now it's totally been debunked that, well, they have wiretapped Manafort. They have.
I'm in the wiretaps. Law enforcement was so upset they gave me the secret wiretaps. And let me tell you, it's my private number. It's Trump's private numbers. It's real. Notice the media never touched that either, Mark.
Let's not forget that the CIA admitted that they actually hacked into the Senate Intelligence Committee's computers when the Senate Intelligence Committee was investigating the torture and interrogation, the enhanced interrogation techniques during the Bush administration. And so they fully admit this. The Senate Intelligence Committee is the group of congressmen who are given classified material and have a high-level authority to monitor Congress, or to monitor the CIA, to make sure that they're not doing anything illegal. And the CIA was spying on them to see what they knew, just like they did to Cheryl Atkinson, former ABC reporter, or CBS reporter, when they admit the CIA was hacking into her computer. CBS admits this, when she was investigating Benghazi, because they wanted to know her sources. They wanted to know what she knew, who she was talking to. I mean, this is third world level dictatorship tactics.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times it comes out in a newspaper that some guest I've had on had their computer hacked into, and ours, for the CIA, and then it's given to the FBI, and then there they are in federal court using it against somebody in a federal court, and I've been spied on, and now learn no warrant. They even use this stuff in court with no warrants. And then they go on the news and act like, oh, it's not happening. I mean, I've been sitting there before, because the CIA, different groups of it, call me up and stuff. I'm not going to get into it on air. It's just a total wreck. And the thing is, I don't want to kiss the CIA's butt, but there are a lot of patriots even in the CIA. But it's the globalists, it's the socialists that infest the schools, the corporations, the deep state. There's a civil war there. Mark Dice is taking over here in 1 minute. Please support his great work. Find his books at markdice.com. You may already know all this information, but your friends and family and neighbors don't, and they're finally ready to listen right now. So make hay while the sun shines. Follow him on YouTube at Mark Dice as well. 1,119,000 subscribers just on that channel, despite the fact they've made him start over twice, deleting his channel twice, if memory serves. I'll ask him in a minute. But briefly, 50% off the highest quality storable foods out there, fresh, they last 25 years, vacuum sealed in the big plastic tote containers from My Patriot. Promo code READY at checkout gets you 50% off instead of 10% off. I'm extending it because of the Mexico earthquake and all the rest of the crises. They've authorized me to do this. I was going to end it this weekend, but they said, no, you can keep going. But they don't want to slow down their production. They ship within days of your order. So if it starts slowing things down because the orders are so high, this sale will end in the next few days. It may go for another week, a week maximum. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. All of the fluoride-free Super Blue mouth care products, the toothpaste, the mouthwash, that's all on sale. We've never done this before, 50% off. That is going to end as soon as I get some new specials together because we're selling out of it. So I want to stop it and have it at full price a while before more comes in a month because we want to fund our operation. Because we sell more when we do these big discounts, but we have to sell a lot more to fund ourselves. So thank you all for the support. Now, back to the one, the only media critic, author, and researcher, Mark Dice. He'll host 5 Minutes the next hour. And then John Rappaport, exposing fake news, is coming up straight ahead. Now, let's go right back to Mark Dice.
You know, we're talking about the wiretaps with Paul Manafort in Trump Tower, and they're saying Trump, well, may have been, collected on those wiretaps. They actually haven't just specifically wiretapped him. I mean, Edward Snowden, back 4 years ago when he released his treasure trove of NSA documents in 2013, revealed a program called Project Mystic. And again, this is 4 years old. Who knows how old those documents were at the time that he even obtained them, where the NSA was recording every phone call in an entire country on a 30-day buffer. Okay, so they literally have a program. And again, with the advances in technology in 4 years, this is most likely the entire globe's conversations on a 30-day buffer 4 years ago. So every single phone call that was made in an entire country, audio recorded, transcribed, then put into a text file, most likely, so it can be searchable like Google. So it's not even just someone that is targeted specifically for a wiretap. They theoretically and most likely can go back and find any conversation from any person from the last several years and then do a keyword search on it to find out specifically who is talking to who and what was said at any given time. That's how scary this is. That's the Orwellian nightmare. This is what Edward Snowden tried to talk about. And it's important to really bring home that the fake news industry, the mainstream media, they've been manipulated by the establishment, by the deep state for decades. In the 1970s, there was a congressional hearing which was investigating the CIA doing assassinations and all sorts of other illegal activities, and then inadvertently uncovered Operation Mockingbird, which was the program to pay the mainstream media under the table to act as gatekeepers and propagandists for the establishment. 50, at least, CIA agents or journalists, editors, CEOs were in this program, half of which the Congressional Committee admits were paid by the CIA. One of the people involved with Operation Mockingbird, there's a couple different names that we call it. That's one of the biggest names. Another one is he called it the Mighty Wurlitzer, because the Wurlitzer was a jukebox back in the 1950s. A jukebox, obviously many of you are familiar with them in bars or restaurants. They can play, within reason, almost any song that you want. And so they called it the Mighty Wurlitzer because the CIA could get the media to play any tune that they wanted. And so it's important to bring these, historical examples of fake news and the names of these programs, Operation Mockingbird, the Mighty Wurlitzer, back into the consciousness of everyone, because we're in this, information war, as Alex's sort of tagline has been for probably a decade at least on the InfoWars website. So it's so important. That's why they're trying to shut us down. I mean, at some point, they'll probably have the web browsers, Firefox, Chrome, etc., just block Infowars.com or other websites. And that's why some of these public, some of these social media services really need to be regulated as if they are public utilities, because Twitter or Facebook or an internet registrar shutting down a website or shutting down your account or even censoring a particular post or a video on YouTube would be the equivalent of the phone company listening to every conversation that you and your friends have and then canceling your service if they just didn't like what it was that you were saying. And this would be like the post office if you were sending out your own magazine or a newsletter like people used to do back in the 1980s and then the 1990s before the internet sort of took over that. It would be like the post office deciding not to deliver your magazine anymore because they just didn't like what it said. This is the level of censorship that we're at now, and this is why it's more important than ever to get involved, to keep spreading this information, instead of following websites through social media, to just bookmark them directly and visit them directly, to sign up for the email lists so that you can get the newsletters that way. I mean, just imagine if, let's say the Postal Service, again, were to shut down specific magazines. Well, we just don't like what you're saying. That is exactly what these social media companies are doing when they're censoring people. So we've been documenting the fake news. Alex has been doing it for probably 15, 16 years. And so it's important to bring some previous examples to the forefront. Previous examples, most of the fake news, let's face it, comes from the mainstream media. I mean, they're the ones that have the major distribution channels. They're the ones who most people believe. And so we've seen fake news from major networks like NBC News blowing up a GM truck and setting lit flares underneath a car and ramming it into it back in the 1990s during an investigation into faulty gas tanks from General Motors trucks. They were sued by GM and had to admit that they staged the explosion. They put a fake gas cap on the gas tank, put lit flares underneath the car, rammed it into a truck, and then gas spilled out of the gas tank and it exploded. And they were, again, trying to investigate a real concern about faulty gas tanks on certain model GM trucks. But they staged an explosion and it went viral. Everybody started freaking out about this, dangerous gas tank. Well, GM sued, found the vehicles that were in the junkyard, had them analyzed forensically, and determined that, and then NBC News later admitted that they staged the whole thing. This is on a supposed news channel. I mean, many of you may recall a hilarious kind of example on, I think it was NBC, another NBC, or maybe this was ABC, during a flood, and they went to a live shot and they showed a reporter in a canoe, and it looked like there was 6-7 feet of water in the middle of a suburb, and then a couple of guys came walking along and the water was ankle deep. Okay, this is fake news. Fake news is when Newsweek, big trusted publication, puts out a story about American soldiers flushing Qurans down the toilet in attempts to taunt detainees at Camp X-Ray. And then it causes riots and deaths in multiple Middle Eastern countries based off of a fake news story. We'll be back after the break. I'm Mark Dice, sitting in for Alex Jones.
Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine. If you're interested in healthy thyroid, if you're interested in well-being, if you're interested in having a higher IQ, which this has been linked to, get your powerful Survival Shield X2 at InfoWarsStore.com.